You're listening to Up All Night Poppin' Bottles with Brooke
and Kat.
And we're back.
Hi. Welcome to Up All Night Poppin' Bottles. This is Kat.
And this is Brooke.
And we are here to discuss mom life.
The good, bad, and the ugly, but mostly the ugly. Yeah. This is what our second episode.
I know, we're like off and running.
Exciting. We're podcasters now.
It's legit. Like we can put this on our resume. Podcasters.
Yeah.
I feel like imposter syndrome already, though.
I know, right? I know, like, we'll make all these, but we can't let anybody listen to
nobody will actually hear these. One day. Anyway, so with our first episode, we let you guys know who we are, all about our kids, and what this adventure is all about. And so today, we are going to start actually talking about birth.
Yeah, starting at the beginning. I have a baby. Now what?
Now what do? I have this tiny human that I am supposed to care for and feed and not let perish while I am also trying not to die myself.
Right. And, you know, having a baby is the only medical, I don't know adventure, procedure, whatever, where
event.
Yeah. Where whether it's a C-section or a vaginal birth, where, you know, you're bleeding, you're in pain, you're exhausted. Yes.
They don't feed you. They don't let you drink
you can't
nothing.
eat. You're exhausted. And then they say, and here's a baby.
Have fun.
Yeah.
It's pretty lame, actually.
Yeah.
And you know, and we are fortunate enough to be living in the US of A, in a first world country where supposedly shit's great. You know, so it could be a lot worse.
Well, you know, it's funny. I don't know if you experience this, but you have, you know, that kind of baby euphoria at first because you got all those. I'm just sounding smart right now, like the oxytocin,
yes, and the dopamine, and the serotonin,
all of the things, the neurotransmitters, you know, going on, and you're like, this is the best, you know.
I'm so tired, but it's so worth it.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, it's almost like a drug, right?
Oh, it's certainly a drug.
And then you start the drugs wear off, and you're like, I'm so tired.
You get home and it's like a week or two later and you're like, what is happening to me?
I'm hemorrhaging.
I'm still bleeding. What is happening? My boobs are leaking. My eyes are leaking.
I'm drenching the bed sheets from sweat, like the hormones.
Yeah. And it's just ugly. And we've been there and we feel you and we know you feel us. And so solidarity, sisters, because this mom shit is hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, physically, obviously, but then mentally, I mean.
That's the worst part, I think. Like, physically, it sucks. Giving birth sucks. You had a C-section, right?
Yeah, I had a C-section.
Which I'm sure is terrible with the recovery because it's legit, like, abdominal surgery. Right. It cuts your ass wide open. And I had a vaginal delivery. Also, 0 out of 10, do not recommend. Is very, very physically painful. But the mental anguish is worse. So this is your third kid.
Yeah.
Compared to, you know, Delaney, who's the second one, and certainly the first one, Price, do you feel like it was mentally easier or tougher this time around?
With Price, it was definitely easier because he was a colicky baby, so all he did was scream. With Delaney, she was a very chill baby, but I think the fact that I'm 40, so my body's already like, what the hell are we
tired
doing?
And worn out,
right,
girl.
What's going on in my brain right now? Made it hard. Like I felt like I didn't have control over my emotions. Uh-huh. I mean, I was a rage monster sometimes. Like poor Scott. Like poor Scott. That's all. That's all I'll say. Scott. And then he would be brave enough to say, "I know this is your hormones right now." And so, you know,
he was very brave.
He was brave to say that. Like, no, it's not my hormones. I'm like losing my mind, literally. But I mean, think about it. I don't know if this is true. Well, but you know, they say like some of the torture methods they use on terrorists is sleep deprivation.
Absolutely. I keep telling my family that. They're like, ha ha ha, that's cute. I was like, no, for real. I am like sleep deprived. I'm not myself right now.
And the funny thing is, you forget all of that because if you didn't, no one would have more than one child.
No. that's biological that your body and your mind forgets the trauma because it is trauma. Let's be honest. But yeah, otherwise the human race would have, gone long cold at 50,000 years ago. And that's one thing that helped me a lot is that, Neanderthals did this.
Right. Yeah.
The people in the Middle Ages did this without the help of modern medicine and, without help. I have family support around me, like a lot of people don't. So like that gave me a lot of comfort. But it's still fucking hard, man. So with this kid, I was ready for the baby business, like the changing the diapers. And I knew you weren't going to sleep for a couple weeks and it was going to suck and your body recovers. But like, I wasn't prepared for the transition to more than one kid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a whole new level of crazy.
It is. Oh, when I just have one kid with me, like I feel like I have no kids. Like it's that easy. But you add in one more, even the one who just watches YouTube all day, like because he still pops his head out every now and then. Mom, I'm hungry. So yeah.
I mean, just like, and it's a whole nother human to coordinate a schedule of. Now his schedule, granted, is pooping and peeing and sleeping, right? But like
you have to take that to soccer or to taekwondo, or whatever.
Pick him up from school and all the extras, and it's just I wasn't ready for that. And just like being a parent the first time, you can't really understand until you've been there.
Oh yeah,
and I don't know that I would have gotten it until I had the second kid, but still, I was not ready for that because it's a whole new level of mental exhaustion.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny. Some of the things you just said, in this series, we'll be talking about like postpartum depression and things I always said I would never do when I had children. That's a good one. That's a good one. But those are for the future. So mainly just saying that. So we'll remember that
that's for us.
We promise. Yeah. So, and then you finally get home. You've got to figure out what routine you've got. And then you're being inundated. And people mean well. They really do. But inundated with calls and texts. And when can I come see the baby? And it's
like one of the things that is such a blessing, and this is so a first world problem, but everybody wants to come see the baby and bring you a meal, which is wonderful. Ain't nobody want to cook or do dishes when you have a newborn. But everybody wants to come the first few days, the first week or two. And my fridge cannot hold that much food, y'all.
I think I got you a DoorDash.
Yes, which was great because when we finally ran out of food, I was like, oh, let's order out now. It was wonderful. And I'm very much appreciated that.
Kat got us like a massive pan of Traviolis, which I think lasted a day. It was a billion calories, but it was amazing.
That must have inspired him because after we came home and Trevor just dropped off Alfredo at our door and like an elf disappeared. And I was napping on the couch and I wake up and there's this whole pan of food on the stove. And I was like, what happened? And Bobby's like, yeah, Trevor dropped it off. And I was like, I love you, Trevor. Trevor, shout out. Trevioli Italian Kitchen, #1 Italian restaurant in the Chattahoochee Valley area. Go.
Hashtags. Not a sponsor, but we wish.
But we love you.
Hashtag partner.
Yes. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you delivered by C-section a whole month early. Mm-hmm. So what was that like for you?
Well, luckily, as we've discussed, I am so neurotically type A. I had my bags packed and Scott thought, I was ridiculous. And I was like, well, what if we have the baby early? We're not going to have the baby early. Okay. And so he had a few drinks that day. We're out by the pool. I started having contractions in the pool and we really thought it was just Braxton Hicks and I was going to get sent home. And, and then they said, no, you're having a baby. And so,
surprise!
Yeah. And then, it was really scary because when he was born, he wasn't breathing. And so we had to go to, the NICU. So I didn't even get to see him for like 24 hours because I was bedbound for 8? I don't remember. It was such a blur, but I didn't even get to see him. Somewhat funny story. When we were in the room getting the C-section, all of a sudden you hear the flatline noise. And so everyone in the room stops. And so then the anesthesiologist says, "It's okay, Mom. It's okay." One of the nurses had pulled the cord, had like stepped on the cord. And so, I mean, Scott said the doctor stopped doing surgery and turned around. Like, everyone freaked out.
Yeah, because there's no sound like that.
Yeah, like, oh, this is fine.
This is great.
So that was my experience. How about you?
Yeah, so I was having what was supposed to be a coffee date, except kid life, and I couldn't get out of the house because I didn't have a car seat. Anyway, so my friend came over. And we were chit-chatting, and I'm just like, I start having contractions, and I think that, like, they're Braxton Hicks. And then I realize that they're getting a little stronger, and they're getting a little closer together, and I'm more uncomfortable than I ought to be. And so she's like, maybe you should just go to the doctor and just to be sure. I was like, maybe I should. And so, I call grandparents, I call a husband, they all come and swoop in. And by the time we get to the hospital, I'm at 6 centimeters dilated. And I was like, oh, okay. And at that point, things were serious.
Yeah.
They hurt. They hurt. And within like 2.5 hours, baby was there. My doula met us at the hospital. My midwife, thank God she was on duty that day because we delivered Frankie on his due date, which happens like 5% of, actual births.
Oh, I don't even know what my doctor's name was because mine wasn't on call. So, so I went from like a 2 to a 6 in like 3 hours. But the whole time we thought it was not real because they didn't hurt. I mean, they were uncomfortable, but I was like,
no, by the time I got to the hospital, like at the check-in, I'm like grabbing on the desk, like breathing through them. And I was like, this girl's going to think I'm crazy. But she also works the check-in desk at labor and delivery. She's seen shit like this before.
Maybe I have that, that disease or that disorder where people can't feel pain. Like you touch the oven and like,
they're just like, oh.
Maybe that's me.
No, you would know. You would know.
Yeah, I guess so.
You would know. I mean, how was your recovery? That shit hurt.
No. But I've had 2 prior C-sections, so there was so much scar tissue going on.
Maybe you are one of those.
Maybe. No, yeah.
Do you feel this?
Yeah. No. Yeah, no, it was weird, like my recovery. I was walking around, took a shower, within, less than 24 hours, and they were like, What
are you doing?
Maybe I've got. Yeah, maybe something's wrong with me.
Oh no, mine came and went pretty quick. Thank God. Amazingly, like Frankie was born with his cord wrapped around his neck twice.
Oh, that's comforting.
Yeah, and we didn't know that there were no signs of distress. It wasn't until they pulled him out and she unwrapped him. And then apparently, I am a modern marvel of medicine because when they delivered the placenta, all the medical professionals that came and looked at it and poked it because there were 2 lobes. Apparently, your placenta should not have 2 lobes. It should just be 1 lobe. And the 2 lobes were connected by some veins or some sort of blood vessel, right? And the midwife was like, yeah, if that vessel had gotten, nicked, either during the delivery because she broke my waters or if she had nicked it and breaking the waters, you could have bled out. Baby could have bled out. And I was like, oh,
thank you for sharing.
Thank you. But literally they passed it around. They all gather around the table and we're like,
Now you're the subject of some scientific research article.
I guess.
A case study.
I really might be.
Apparently my uterus was shoved over and not where it was supposed to be, which explains why I had to walk with a frickin' cane during pregnancy. A cane. Because I could not walk, but that makes sense when the baby's off on the side.
Yeah.
Wait, so you did it au natural?
Mostly, yes. I don't know that I would recommend it.
I would not.
It fucking hurts.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of pride and I'm sure if I did it, whatever. But let me tell you, bragging rights ain't worth it. That shit hurts.
So,
and there's no wrong way to have a baby.
Well, I wanted to be the granola light mom, Kat. So my first baby, I watched, what's that documentary? The Business of Being Born. And so I was like, hell yeah, I'm having a natural birth. Hired a doula. Yeah. And so got to the hospital. I had 1 contraction. And I was like, oh, that didn't feel good. And then they were like, well, look.
It don't get any better than that.
Yeah. Well, they were like, the anesthesiologist, he can come, he's available now. We don't know when he'll be available again. And I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and get him in here.
Yeah.
And so then, obviously I didn't feel anything because I got an epidural, and the doula's like, do you want me to like massage your feet? And I'm like, no, you're good. Like, thanks for coming. I'm like, she's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah. So I chickened out at the last minute.
You didn't chicken out. I was begging for the epidural when I got there. Because that shit hurt. Yeah. And then they were like, they check me in, through triage, and then they get me in a room, and they're like, look, you have to have a full bag of fluids before we can get you ready for the epidural. I'm like, fine, fucking put the IV in, start the bag. And so they start this bag of fluids. And by then I'm like,
right, the baby's born.
Like, it's coming. So yeah, I psyched myself out of it, but it's not because I didn't change my mind. I was ready for it.
On a scale of 1 to 10, painful is like a 10. Natural birth, really?
Yes.
10.
That's
really a dumb question.
Come on, man.
I don't know.
When they say like when a man passes a kidney stone.
Oh, yeah. I was just about to say that.
Having birth. Maybe. But you know how small a kidney stone is compared to how big a fucking baby?
Do you remember on that movie, Look Who's Talking, where Kirstie Alley says, squeezing out something the size of a watermelon out of a hole the size of a lemon and see how hot you look?
Yeah. Oh, no. But I did have a doula, and she was wonderful. Kim Baxley Wilson, Baby Bumps and Beyond.
Hashtag.
You guys are going to find out all of our local favorites at some point. We'll give everybody a shout out.
Yeah, and unfortunately, none of them are sponsors. But we'll take it.
We'll take it. Yeah. We'll just take their love and adoration. It's fine.
So.
But anyway, she was super helpful. I did not have a doula with my first. I did have a midwife both times. Also, I do recommend that. I do recommend having the midwife experience just because I feel like they're not rushing to get you in and out like just an OBGYN. And they're a little more hands-on and certainly more supportive of alternative birth means. Like I got to stand on the bed with a squat bar and I didn't have to lay on my back with my feet up. I got to like birth in whatever position felt least uncomfortable at the moment. But so Kim was great. She helped me talk through contractions and like just made sure that even when I was screaming obscenities at everybody around me that I was at least still in control of
still in control.
Yeah. So that's those are the birth stories. That's birth in a nutshell. It sucks, but then it's over.
Yeah. And then the real work starts.
That's right.
So then you have the baby. Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we talk some more about that next time? But for now, let's just say bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Up All Night, Popping Bottles with Kat
and Brooke.
Produced by Ricky Z Social Media.